Deep in the heart of the woods, just behind a quiet village, there was a hidden kingdom brimming with fairies. These fluttering beings lived in tiny homes they built themselves, using the gifts of the earth. Some nested in hollowed-out tree trunks, others stitched together thick, broad leaves to form cozy shelters, and a few burrowed into the ground like tiny moles. They were protected by the trees that housed them and nurtured by the earth that cherished them. The fairies were Mother Nature's own children. It was their sacred duty to care for the forest, healing trees, feeding soil, and helping the land flourish. In return, Mother Nature cloaked them in safety, keeping them hidden from the curious eyes of humans living nearby. The villagers had heard whispers of fairies and longed to see them, but the woods kept their secrets. Trees would sway mysteriously to block intruders. Branches would gently brush against heads to warn them away, and paths would shift beneath their feet to lead them astray. The fairies needed to stay hidden to continue their quiet work. Still, every few years, someone slipped through. It was rarely intentional, more often luck, coincidence, or fate. One autumn afternoon, not too long ago, the forest allowed a visitor. The air was crisp with a cool breeze, and the sky was cloaked in misty gray clouds. Trying in vain to hide the sun, golden rays still pierced through the canopy, making dewdrops sparkle on amber leaves. Down a winding path walked a girl named Evie. Autumn was her favorite season. She breathed in the scent of pine and damp leaves, smiling as the earth crunched under her boots. The moment felt like sensory magic, just as she told her mother before heading out. Evie gazed up at the fiery canopy of red, gold, and orange. Even with overcast skies, the forest seemed to glow, lost in its beauty. She didn't notice how far she'd wandered, but the trees did. They felt her warmth, her gentle heart, and let her pass. No branches reached out to trip her, no roots twisted to tangle her steps. They quietly parted to let her enter a secret part of the forest. Without realizing it, Evie stepped onto a path that had subtly veered left. The leaves beneath her vanished, replaced by smooth stone. Looking down, she was surprised to find herself walking on a cobblestone path bordered by red maple trees and thick hedges behind her. The dirt trail had vanished entirely. Uncertain, she paused. Should she turn back? But something inside her whispered to keep going. Cobblestones gleamed in the fading light, and the whisper grew louder. Curiosity bloomed in her chest like a warm flame. She took a step forward, then another. Soon, she heard a faint pattering ahead, tiny footsteps like those of a squirrel. But it wasn't a squirrel. A figure emerged, a tiny green person no larger than her finger, with shimmering wings and curious eyes. Evie blinked. This had to be a dream. She rubbed her eyes, but the smell of pine and damp earth told her she was very much awake. Suddenly, she stumbled, but before she hit the ground, something wrapped around her waist and held her upright. It was a branch, gently lifting her. A maple tree had caught her. She whispered thank you to it, and the tree waved a branch in reply. She turned back to the winged figure, then more appeared, fluttering around her with the wings like stained glass. They were fairies, dozens of them, glowing in the golden light. They gazed at her in awe. No human had entered their village in years. The fairies huddled together, murmuring. One looked toward the trees, clearly puzzled. How had a human slipped through? But others smiled brightly. They trusted the trees. If Evie had been allowed in, she must be special. With tiny hands, the fairies tugged at her fingers and sleeves, urging her forward. Evie followed. She could have turned back, but something in her heart told her not to. Not yet. Ahead, elegant willow trees formed an arch, their branches draping like a curtain. As she approached, the leaves parted, revealing a hidden world. It felt like stepping from autumn into summer. The air grew warmer, and sunlight bathed her in gold. Before her lay the tiniest village she had ever seen. At the center was a building made of smooth stone, no taller than her waist, with a large clock embedded in its face. Mounted were houses crafted from leaves, bark, and acorns, each one a marvel of fairy engineering. Fairies bustled about, carrying nature's treasures. When they saw Evie, they froze. Some dropped what they were holding. She stood at the edge of the village, careful not to step on anything. One fairy floated up to her, a woman in a flowing yellow dress with luminous wings and soft golden hair. She was radiant. Hello, the fairy said gently. Evie gasped. She hadn't expected them to speak. Welcome to our home, the fairy continued. Perhaps the trees thought it was time for a visit. I don't know how I got here, Evie stammered. I'm sorry for disturbing you. I should probably head home. It's getting late. The fairy smiled. Kindly, if the trees chose to let you in today, maybe they will again when there's more time. The fairies hovered beside her, their wings glittering, without a word. They guided her back through the forest. By the time Evie stepped onto the familiar dirt path, her feet ached and her eyes felt heavy. She waved goodbye to the fairies who faded into the woods. That evening, after dinner and a warm bath, she climbed into bed. Her mother asked how her walk had been, and Evie wasn't sure what to say. Could she explain a day that felt like a dream? As she lay in bed under the glow of the full moon, she finally understood. Fairies were real, and the woods still had secrets waiting to be discovered. She drifted off to sleep, dreaming of trees that moved and tiny beings with wings of light.